Welcome to Permission to Kick Ass, the show that gives you a virtual seat at the bar for the real conversations that happen between entrepreneurs. I'm interviewing all kinds of business owners, from those just a few years into freelancing to CEOs helming 9-figure companies. If you've ever worried that everyone else just seems to get it and you're missing something or messing things up, this show is for you. I'm your host, Angie Coley, and let's get to it. Welcome to Permission to Kick Ass. With me today is my new friend, Tarzan Kay.
I think you mean Her Highness Tarzan Kay.
Her Highness Tarzan Kay. That is right. How did I forget that? We were just talking about my disappointment before recording. I have this pre-flight checklist that I run everybody down. And every time I ask someone to confirm how they'd like me to introduce them, nobody comes up with a fun title. Like Supreme Overlord of the Universe or Dr. Reverend Soul Sister. But we came up with Her Highness for Tarzan, and then I didn't say it. Lame.
Wah, wah, wah.
Wah, wah. This is the fun of recording these things, but I am so happy to have you on the show today and so excited for what we're going to talk about. So tell me a little bit about your business.
So I'm Tarzan Kay. I am Her Highness Tarzan Kay. And I'm an email marketer, and that's my main thing. Currently, I don't actually do anything else. Like, oh my God, don't look at my social media profile. Just pretend it was never there. Let's pretend that never happened. And so I built a whole business around email, and I teach email marketing. I have a single program that's the main thing that I do. It's called Email Stars. And I work with personal brands, a lot of course creators, making them teaching them how to make email marketing fun and personal and something that you really enjoy doing. Because what I've seen is if you really enjoy doing it, you'll keep doing it. And especially if your subscribers are loving it and hitting reply and starting conversations, you'll keep doing it. So that's what I teach. It's very story driven. I talk a lot. People kind of know me. I hate the word ethical. I don't like to talk about ethical sales, but people do kind of know me for that. I personally don't use that word, but I did really come up in the industry really fast. And I had just started out, and 4 years later I had $1 million business. And I was like, what is this? I don't know if I don't know if this is it. And then I started walking it back and being like, okay, why was I successful so fast? Is it because I'm white? Is it because I have a lot of privilege? Is it because I am educated? Is it because I had one famous client in my first year in business? Why did this happen for me and not for other people? And why are the strategies that I'm teaching working for some people and not other people? And so that led me to an exploration into online business and the ways persuasion is used to coerce people. And I had to figure out how to do a business in a way that's not coercive. And so I changed a lot. I don't do not that I'll never do this again, but I used to do big launchy things and teach people how to do big launchy things. And I don't do this anymore. Now I have I'm almost a solopreneur. I have one person who works with me. I'm hiring one more person right now, but I have a lot from the 7-figure thing that I used to do. I'm not doing that anymore. And I'm a lot happier. I like it more now.
That's incredible.
That's my long intro.
No, I think that's fantastic. I was taking furious notes during that. And I think that something really interesting that I really wanted to unpack for everyone is this idea of we have a target in mind. And a lot of the times when you hit it, like building $1 million business, it doesn't actually wind up being the thing that you thought, which is why I'm such a huge proponent of take action, aim toward a goal. You don't need a reason why to aim for the goal other than to have one and see if you can hit it, right? And sometimes when you get there and you discover it's not the thing that you wanted or not the thing that you thought, or in this case, I don't feel good about being here and I'm not sure that I like it this way. You can undo that and reverse engineer and figure out a different way to do things, so long as you're just taking action and staying in touch with who you are and what's important to you. Would you agree?
Yeah, definitely. And actually, my business was working for me. Even at that when I got to that level, like I started adding more bells and whistles and more things. And, this was 4 years ago. And to be honest, it was a lot easier to make $1 million back then. I think it's gotten harder. Maybe it's because I don't do the same things anymore, but it has gotten harder, like with all of the things that have happened in our world since then.
Yeah.
But really, like I got to that point and I realized something really key, which was like I got to the top of this ladder that I had been climbing, and I realized that what was at the top of the ladder was just more ladder.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, there's just more ladder here. Oh, this is what this is. And I had like
was the
covered.
top, damn it.
Yeah, I thought this was the top. Yeah. I'm at the top of this ladder and there's just more ladder. And I went to my coach and she was like, yeah, that's patriarchy. Like, you figured it out. And I was like, oh, that's what people mean? Like, is that what they're talking about? Like, they're just like endless goal and trying to get to the top and climbing over more people. And when she said that to me, that was the beginning of me figuring out what I really wanted. Because I had 2 children, I had a house, I had a minivan, and I like don't have huge dreams, Angie. Like I have a really nice house that I live in. I have a yard. I buy whatever food that I want. Like sometimes I travel for business. Like what more? I don't know. This is enough for me. It's actually enough for me.
I love that you said that, because I think a lot of us have a certain level of discomfort with admitting that, like, I know what enough is for me, but maybe I don't know what it is. Is it fear of judgment from other entrepreneurs that you're not striving for what you quote unquote should be, which I freaking hate. Should and shame are horrible in my opinion. And you shouldn't feel ashamed of what you want your goals to be, whether that's like, I know my business partner wants a quiet life and a mountain retreat away from people. Like that's the end game of business for her. The end game of business for me is to be an author and a speaker. And those things may change between now and when we get there, or we may get there and find that those things aren't the things that we thought they were. But like, it's okay to have your goal be different from $1 million, from being a speaker. Like, all of this is okay. You can build a business you want.
Yeah. And I do think it's like, if you just want to make $1 million, like make it the $1 million. Like that's such a great goal. It'll feel so good to hit that goal. But also you have to know that like, you're going to be the same person when you hit the goal. Like it's actually not different. I've seen people make enormous amounts of money. And basically when they get to the enormous pile of money in their bank account, they're usually just figuring out how to make more fat stacks. Like that's how it goes. And for myself, like I needed to solve financial security, or like, I needed to solve that. And once that got solved, like that actually allowed for me to explore what I wanted my life to be, what I wanted my work to be, what's meaningful to me. So it's really easy to say like, oh, 7 figures, it doesn't matter. Like look for something more meaningful. No, actually figure your shit out financially, but just know that like, once you get that figured out, like there's a whole other world of stuff that you have to figure out. Yeah. And so I did have to, and that was very hard. But now, like, what I actually want to do is write. Like, I love writing. I also happen to really love writing emails. Like, that's the job. I already have it. Like, I love writing emails. I wish I had a little bit more time to write my book. So that's, like, I have some work to do there. But I do think something that people don't realize when they get sold on the online course dream is like, you have a thing that you're passionate about. Maybe you're like a naturopathic doctor, or you're like, whatever your thing is, like, and you have some gut health program and you want to like help people do their gut health thing, whatever. Actually, like your career as a course creator is going to be totally fucking different than what you're doing right now. And most of it is going to be sitting at your desk, writing emails, making videos, writing social media captions, like putting together webinars, like all of these things that you actually might not like doing. And I did get to that place in my business where I had this whole team And of course, like there's other ways I could have built the business, but this is what it ended up being. I had this whole team. They were very talented, very smart people. And in order to make the whole thing go, like there was constantly a long list of tasks for me to provide things for them. Like, look at this thing, write that thing. And it was stuff that like it actually took me away from the thing that I do really love doing, which is writing. And now that I've pared it way back, like I don't have this big team anymore. So I don't have to make as much revenue to keep the machine, going. So I have a lot more choices, and it means I can spend more time writing. It also means like, I just like telling like my weirdo stories to my email list. Like, and I have so many of them. I'm like a polyamorous queer who loves ketamine. Like I could tell funny stories all day, and I get to do more of that. And before I was like all day long, like sell this thing, now sell that thing, now make a webinar. I'm glad to have a break.
Yes, it sounds like that break was a long time coming. And I'm glad that you realized it versus just like straight up burning everything to the ground and being like, I'm done. I'm just going to go, be a yak farmer or something. I don't know why yak farmer jumped into minds, but there it is. But I thought it was interesting that like, I love this idea of picking your focus, like what you did with solving for financial security. That's a very real problem. And neither one of us is saying, shit on $1 million dream or go for $1 million dream. Like know what you need. That's really the important thing. And it's okay to solve for that problem and then realize that doesn't fix all of your problems. In fact, it just creates new problems, hopefully better problems that are easier problems to solve.
Yeah, but they're nicer problems. Like when I think about, like, I never made money until I was like well into my 30s. Like I never really had a full-time job. I was like a piano teacher, doing this and that, just like really scraping by. Think about the burden of financial stress of just like not knowing how I'm going to pay for this thing, or like, can I afford to eat this meal? Or like, maybe I should get the cheaper entree, like that, like constant monologue in your head of like, how can I afford my life? Like,
yes, that
it is like the greatest blessing to not have that monologue playing in my head all the time. I am so fucking grateful. Yes. So for people who are just like, here's my goal, it's strictly monetary. Like, yeah, man.
Absolutely. Cool. Yes, we are here championing that. Like, you don't need a reason. And if you need a reason, cool. I want it is enough. There's your reason. Go for it. And I loved that you brought up like the need to make revenue to feed the machine. Like I underlined that a couple of times because I thought that was such an interesting turn of phrase that's so accurate, because once you get to a certain size, you do need help. And then that help is an investment, right? It's a cost, it's a hard cost. And now it necessitates this continuing to turn, to create, to sell, because you've got to pay for all these people that you adore and want to support in their growth and their financial goals.
Yeah. And having a team is great. Like I felt so proud to provide those jobs. Like it was really awesome. My people were great. And I think I was really scared. It was really scary to go from being someone who had employees and was like seen in a certain way to then be like, actually, now I'm like a solopreneur. I'm just like doing this thing by myself. Like there's a bit of there was some ego in there that made me want to keep doing the other thing because it looked really good. But now I'm like, I like what I'm doing now. It feels more honest. It's a lot more peaceful.
So glad that you said all that, because that stuff really counts. And we can get caught up in the whole entrepreneurship story and myth and wanting more and more and more and being so concerned with how it looks to the outside to follow our bliss. But you're not the only one that I've spoken to who has struggled with that. Like, I had to give up all the shit that I actually like doing because it's quote unquote less efficient for me to write my own emails when I could hire that out to somebody else. But that's the thing I love doing. Why can't I do that? Yeah. Oh, I got to go produce a million other things. That's why.
Yeah, I'm actually reviewing some emails right now because I'm in the process of creating a new website, which I'm so excited about.
Oh, and so awesome.
Part of it is reviewing all of my top level opt-ins and the sequences that come after them. And I'm reviewing some of those sequences. And I was expecting to be reviewing my own copy. And I was like, wait, I didn't write this. Like, why did I pay someone to write this? Like, I love this part of it. This is what I'm the best at. Like, this is what I teach. This is my favorite thing. So it feels good to take that back.
Yes. Heaven forbid you have a little joy in your business. I absolutely agree with that thing that you said earlier about making sure that you're doing things bring joy, that make this fun so that you actually want to do it. Because if you keep adding on shit that you don't like and giving away all the stuff that you do like, eventually you're going to dread going to work because you've created a new job for yourself, and nobody likes jobs. That's what I'm proclaiming.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm also like, I don't get how this works yet, but the model that I have been taught, like for selling digital courses as a personal brand, like it's really hard to exit that model. And inevitably you're like, I don't know, like I don't see anybody that's really done it. I guess I'm thinking, I don't know, maybe like Neil Patel. He doesn't seem to be like too involved, but isn't he creating content all the time? Like, who in this business did a full exit, sold their business? I don't know anyone. Or
I can't think of anybody off the top of my head. No.
Yeah, I don't know. And what about like actually remove themselves from the business? Like then you're paying people, if you're a personal brand, like you end up paying people to put your name on something. And I don't know, like it's my name. That's my name.
Yeah. I've seen a couple people who got to that point of like burnout and frustration with the personal brand and the teaching online courses, that they wanted to build in mechanisms to remove themselves. But it's interesting because I didn't even realize it until you brought it up, that I haven't seen a single one actually complete that process, because they would get a certain length, down the road and realize like, I'm scared to let go of this, or maybe it's not, maybe they do love it and they do want it back now that they were halfway through the process of getting rid of it or something. I don't know what happened, but I've never actually seen that complete.
Yeah. The other thing that's a little weird about it is like when people, so let's say I'm Tarzan Kay, I'm out there in the world doing my TikTok or whatever, like, convincing people to buy into my brand, buy my programs, and then they go and buy into it. And then I'm not in there. I'm just like that does happen a lot with online courses. It's like, oh, this person, I've been listening to their podcast forever. And so now I'm going to give them like $5,000, but then I don't actually get anything from them. I just get to watch more videos of their face. Yeah. I'm wondering like, how much longer is that going to work? Like,
that's true. It does seem like it's approaching a bit of saturation. And I don't know what the solution is, but that is an interesting challenge.
I think I do actually know what the solution is, because there is an underlying problem here. And this is especially a big problem with women who are really like, we see a lot of like women leveraging their beauty, their thinness, their all these things like to be likable and charming and get people to buy from them based on their persona and who they are. Yeah. Versus like, let's say like Seth Godin as an example, like Seth Godin isn't showing up in his alt MBA and like talking to the students. Like he's probably there on the first call and there on the last call. However, people aren't in that program because they're like, oh, Seth, maybe Seth will talk to me. Maybe he'll be my boyfriend. No, it's like, I love that guy's ideas. Like, wow, it's like such an interesting brain. Like his thoughts must be like really infused into his program. And like, you can see this approach is like really based on his ideas and helping me surface my ideas. Like you're going there for the ideas and the work, maybe a methodology, maybe not even, rather than for the person, for the charm and their likability.
I think you're onto something there, because I know I have always felt a little bit of it was like a burr in my side over the whole notion of like the attractiveness and leaning into the physical appeal or how I look. Well, I mean, like we talked about this before we started recording, the fact that I don't release these videos. You know why I don't release these videos? Because I don't want to fucking dress up. I don't want to feel like I have to like I'm sitting here in my comfy sweatshirt and you look fabulous, by the way, with the like
yes,
statement earrings and the red lips, and I'm just sitting here feeling comfortable.
Red lipstick, green, like I'm showing up this way for this interview because this is how I like to look in life.
Exactly.
I'm wearing dark red lipstick. I have these beautiful earrings that are like this indigenous blanket design, and they're like down to my collarbone. Like I look good. Also,
and they're metallic and like they move when you move with the light. So I keep like staring at them.
Yeah, they're really amazing. Actually, I just made a GIF of them and put it in an email today. But you know, that is like I had to examine this question of why I was so successful so fast in online business. And that's a huge part of it is like because I look the part and I was taught to leverage looking the part. I was buying courses from all these other women that were like, you know, leveraging that. And so I did it, and it actually does work, but it does work, except I don't want people to buy from me because I'm thin and beautiful. I want them to buy from me because they want to like get really good at the thing that I'm good at, and they can see me being good at it and being good at teaching it. And that's what I want them to come to me for. So I'm glad we don't have video on this podcast.
I'm glad we don't either. And that, I mean, it's just reaffirming that I've rebelled against this, because I know I used to talk to my life coach about the insecurity with this, like, will I build this thing to the way that I want because I don't look like the stereotype? Heavily tattooed, bright red hair, usually have my visible piercings in. If you catch me out of sweatpants, lucky you, friends. Did I even put on pants today? Who knows? It's a mystery. But like, I used to get that in corporate a lot, where I wouldn't wear makeup to work, and I got told a few times, like, you look really tired. Fucking hate that line. Or like, God. You know, it doesn't look like you care or that you want to try. And I actually rebelled so hard against that once and was like, do you want me to put more effort into figuring out what to do with my face in the morning? Or would you rather I wash my face and bring my best to work? Because like, I know which one I would prefer. But if you're really focused on my face, I guess I could divert some energy to that. I don't really care.
Right. Yes. Do you want me to perform my gender, or do you want me to perform my job?
Right. Oh my, that's you're good at these quippy one-liners. I
put that in the show notes.
But we're definitely going to put that in the show notes. And I think this is such an important part of this discussion of like building a business that feels good to you, that feels authentic to you, that feels right to you. And that's going to be a little bit different for every person. And I get so fucking pissed when people pretend or think that there is one path to success. And the reason that I'm not finding the success that I want or hitting the goal that I have in mind for myself is because I didn't follow that one person's path to success and do the thing that they did. Disgusting.
Yeah. The problem is then you get stuck of like, oh, I picked the wrong model, so now I have to follow this person's step-by-step system. Oh, and then even if you pick one person's step-by-step system, there's always like, well, the real secret is in the next level thing. And that's why you haven't made it work yet. Like, oh goodness, that's never it. We all have to like, just try things and iterate and fail at lots of things.
That's the unsexy side of business. Like, you just have to do shit, and you have to commit to doing shit, whether you fail or not. And sometimes you fail. Sometimes it's a big public fail. Sometimes it's a private one that you get to gloss under the rug a little bit, but you learn a lesson, and you're going to learn way more from that than just following somebody else's steps blindly. And I don't want anybody listening to give away their power in that way. If somebody's telling you to do something and there's something in your gut that says, I don't like that. That doesn't feel right to me. Pay attention, modify the part that feels icky and do it the way that you feel it should be done. Don't just blindly follow people. That's okay to not blindly follow people. Do it your way. It's fine.
Yeah. And we do need the systems too. Like I use them. I just like, somehow I knew that I could, I guess I was just doing what I could. So I skipped a lot of steps, but it's funny. The other day I got on a call with one of my students, and she had an evergreen funnel that was like really working like gangbusters. And
good
she was
problems
like,
to have.
You know,
yes.
She was like, I took Digital Course Academy and So I put together the funnel that Amy recommended, and it's made like all these like millions of dollars, and she doesn't do anything. And I was like, okay, do you know that like this is incredibly rare?
Yes.
Like this almost never happens.
Everybody wants to be you.
Yeah, everybody wants to be you. And the funny part was she didn't even know. She was like, oh, really? Oh, this is unusual. I was like, yes, most evergreen funnels totally flop, and breaking even is considered a success, FYI. And she had no idea because she had just followed this step-by-step system and it worked. She was like, well, I guess the system works. Sometimes the system does work, but in like 99.999% of all other cases, you have to figure it out yourself.
Yes. And I like, if you're in the need, I guess that's where it reconciles for me, because if you need to figure it out for yourself and you don't know where to start, then yes, pick a system that feels good to you and follow that and follow it step by step so that you can learn the breaking points for yourself, what works for you, what doesn't work for you, because it works for a lot of people. That doesn't mean it works for everybody. And it's okay if you run into some friction with it. There might be some missing context for you, or you might be aiming at the wrong people. And a couple years from now, with some more experience, you'll be able to actually use that and make it work this time around because you'll have that missing detail. But like, if you don't know where to go, following a system is great. And if in the course of following the system, something disconnects, cool, trash it.
I think one issue that comes up with a lot of businesses is they're like, okay, they took one program and they're trying to make it work and it didn't quite work. So then they go and take another program and learn a whole nother system. It's like, I'm going to do courses. No, I'm going to do memberships. No, I'm going to do mastermind, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, taking course after course, which is fine. Totally. Yes. Well, I take courses all day long, love courses.
However, I'm a course junkie.
Somewhere in there, like before you buy into a whole nother system, to get someone's program where you actually can talk to someone who's experienced, who can help you make, like someone with more experience, who can help you make decisions about how you're going to implement the systems you already know. Yes. Rather than trying to get a whole nother system. So like when you're considering like where to spend your money, like you probably have 100 systems already that you learned. So before spending on another one, like who can actually has the know-how to help you implement something and figure out what's going to work for you.
It's so great that you bring that up, because I love hammering on this idea of getting outside your own head. And we see this happening in both directions, right? Like with the student that you talked about, she's the rarity. She's the one, and she doesn't even realize that this isn't normal because it's just her experience, right? From her own lived perspective. She has no reason to believe that nobody else is doing the same thing as her. So getting outside her own head helps her realize how far she's come, how much she's accomplished, how much this is a great thing. And I hope she celebrated the shit out of that after you pointed it out to her. And by the same token, I mean, we're sending it out into the universe. If you were listening, I hope you are celebrating. We're celebrating for you. And by the same token, like if you're struggling with something, this might be a more common problem than you think. You are probably not alone. And this is probably not the first time that somebody else has had to deal with this. There might be solutions out there that you're not seeing. And maybe you don't have to burn it to the ground because you're frustrated. This could be solvable, but get outside your own head to figure that out, right? Don't try and figure it all out on your own.
Yeah, definitely. And adding to that, like to keep working on the same thing, like rather than creating something new, okay, that didn't work. Let me like create another course or another thing, like try the same, like my program Email Stars. Let me tell you how many iterations this thing has been through. Like it started out as a group program with 18 people, and it was $3,500 or $6,500 if you also wanted to have a VIP day with me. So, and it was like, I taught the whole thing live and created the recorded version. The next time I offered it, it cost more. It was like $5,000, but it was like, you got way more time with me. I don't even know. I don't know why it was $5,000, because I think it's actually way better now and it costs less. Anyway, after that, it became like a scalable program. And for many years, it was $1,500, except sometimes we sold it on Black Friday and it was the price was the same, but I don't know, you got different stuff. Anyway, like it's been 5 or 6 years to get to the version where it is now. And I think it's the best it's ever been. And now I only take 20 people. And now you actually get one-on-one time with me. And the calls are really small. Like I personally review people's emails. Like it's honestly way better than it was when I charged $5,000 for it. And now it's like 2,500. And like it's evolving as the industry evolves, as people's needs change, as I learn like what works. But I think a big part of why my business is successful and I can actually rely on this program to pay me a comfortable salary is because I stuck with it. Like, it's been email for 7 years.
Yes. The tenacity is something that we don't talk enough about in entrepreneurship, like determination and tenacity. And I like to call it stubbornness because that's what I consider myself to be. Just, I'm committing to this and I want to find a way to make this work. It's a different energy from I need this to work, which is a valid way to get started. I need this to work. But like at some point, I really want this to work. I'm going to find a way, kicks in and helps get you over the hurdles where you might burn down and otherwise great business for you, but you haven't quite figured out where the gap is that you need to solve for.
Yes.
And I love that you brought up iterations too, because I see so many people who want to put something out there, but they get hamstrung by this need to get it perfect and to have it be a knockout of the park success from day one. And if they get anything less, or, say compared to yours, you got 18 and they got 2. And now they're supremely disappointed because they're unfairly comparing themselves against someone else. Like iteration is the name of the game. And I see a sale as a win and showing you that there's something here. So I don't know where I'm going with that thought other than I totally get how disappointing it is to want so many more sales and get 1 or 2 people in the door. But just, what if you refocused it to lucky them? Man, we're going to go so deep on this and they're going to get so much of my time and attention. And I'm going to make sure that this is a kick-ass experience for those 2 people. And they're going to be so grateful that they invested in this program because of that.
Yeah. The first time I launched a program, it was an email marketing program and it was called Email Empire. And I think I sold 4. Like I thought I had 750 subscribers. So had I been a little more realistic, I wouldn't have thought this, but I had 750 subscribers. I really thought I was going to make $100,000. I was like counting the sales in my head way before the sales page even was written. And then I made 4 sales and I was so fucking freaked out. I never sold that program again.
Oh, wow.
And I looked at it like maybe like a year or 2 later, I looked at it and I was like, why did I take this? Like, why didn't I sell this again? It was like actually really quite good. It was a beginner program, but it was certainly worth a few $100s. Like, absolutely. For my first program, it was really quite good, but I was so freaked out that I totally abandoned it. And then a year and a half later, created something like a whole new program from scratch, which was a lot better, but still, like, had I, maybe known that I was just going to start slow and get my first few students, like I could have saved myself some pain. But yeah, having small manageable goals, like it's great. Like in the last couple of years with my team, we were setting bigger and bigger goals and it was becoming harder to hit those goals. And in like 2022 was a really hard year for selling courses. I hope 2023 is easier. So far it has been, but maybe it's just me. But 2022 was very hard. And so we were like constantly falling short of our goals or getting, we're constantly at kind of just enough, just kind of treading water. And that was hard. And now my goals are much smaller, but I'm remembering again that feeling of meeting a goal. And I'm like, oh, this feels so good. So when I'm goal setting with my students, I'm like, really, okay, let's look at the number of subscribers you have. Like, are you doing sales calls? No, you're doing this passively. Okay, well, like, here's how many people that you could reasonably expect. And I mean,
Yes.
I have 14,000 subscribers ish. You know what? I haven't looked in a while, and I haven't run ads, and I don't create content. So it could be 13, it could be 12. I don't even know.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't have that many subscribers, but I have a lot compared to my students, and I'm taking 20 people. So with that many subscribers and 20 people, it's like so easy. But I have a lot of students that are like, well, I have 500 people or I have 1,000 people and my goal is 20 sales. I'm like, okay, so like, let's talk about that. What are you going to do to get those 20 sales? Because like, you're going to have to work for them. You can't you don't look at my business as like, oh, I want to do what Tarzan does. Well, Tarzan does that because she has like way more email subscribers.
Yes.
So that's a realistic goal setting is something that I wish someone had taught me early on, but live and learn. Here we are.
Yeah. I'm so glad that you brought that up. I think that we stay at the level that we need to be at until we learn the thing that we need to learn. And Lord knows the stubbornness works both ways, both for keeping me in the game and also for hitting my head against the wall. I like to call it trying to make a door with my forehead. There's a door over there. Just go over there. But like realistic goals is something like often when we're setting goals, we will pluck a number out of thin air because it feels good. It feels good to say 100,000. It feels good to say I'm going to make 20 sales. But you also have to take that step back and go, okay, cool. What assets do I have working for me toward hitting that goal? What liabilities do I have against me? And I was glad that you mentioned things like, are you doing direct selling or are you doing passive? How is this what does your list size look like? How do all of these things conspire to help you get closer to that goal? Okay, now that we've looked at all of these things in context and we've realized that there's probably a shortfall between what you've actually got and where you're hoping to go, how do we make up that gap? Like, if you can look at this as that kind of process, as you're setting goals for yourself, look at your goals and ask yourself if you're being realistic, if you're judging yourself unfairly for failing to hit your goals, because maybe that's just you were never going to hit that goal because it was an unrealistic goal, and that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, my first launch there, that was like totally freaking unrealistic. If I crunched a few numbers, it would have been obvious. If I'd had a coach or like someone who knew, it would have told me. But, you know, I was in all these funnels, people promising the moon and total transformation and, you know, the bikini. Remember the bikini business coach?
I don't.
Do you remember her? Okay.
Oh my gosh. I need to look that up now.
I haven't seen her in a while. She must have rebranded. This was my first year in business in 2016. And she was all over Instagram, the bikini business coach. And she'd be like at a resort, like running her business. And, you know, I thought it was going to be that easy. Jeez.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That's so funny. Last night, I'm currently with my business partner as we get ready to head into an event tomorrow. And last night we were hanging out at the hot tub and I realized I had meant to bring my more conservative bottoms because for the first time in my life, I own a bikini. And as a chubby girl, like that's an act of rebellion. The fact that I don't have six-pack abs and I dared to put myself in a two-piece.
It is.
And so when I realized I had grabbed the skimpier bottoms last night, I was like, I'm feeling really uncomfortable. And then eventually I was like, you know what? Just get in the water. Have a good time. Put a bikini on your body. That's what makes it a bikini body. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, Angie.
Yes. Well, I'm getting away from that. Like you have to look a certain way. You have to act a certain way. I've definitely had conversations behind the scenes with like, how professional do people think I am if I'm presenting with permission to kick ass and telling stories? I literally told a story in an email. Oh, yeah.
Well, I can speak to that because like I do have a lot of dominant identities. I'm white. I check a lot of boxes with my, I wish your subscribers could see, your listeners could see my beauty because I'm also so beautiful.
You are stunning. You are stunning.
Okay. There's also some things about me that are like unusual. Like as a queer person, I talk a lot about being a cult survivor. I use drugs. I talk about that. Like I do a lot of things online that are unusual. And that's like what I love the most about my business is that I get to be seen. I like for my beauty and my beautiful earrings to be seen, but more importantly, I really like that's the most rewarding thing about my business. The number one thing is like, I get to be Tarzan. And honestly, my, like, even in my own family, like my family is very transphobic. My family is like, thinks also like I'm the weirdo in my family. And that's a whole other thing. My email subscribers though, like it like feels like home. And I love that I get to be that. I get to be that in the world. And I feel, anyway, I don't know how we got on this topic, but I feel very lucky to be those things.
This is a good topic because it's going to make me good and ranty. Like, look, guys, I don't care what side of the spectrum you fall. I don't care how you identify. In Angie Lands, we preach love and that people get to be who they are and that you don't have to understand. And it doesn't have to make sense for you because it's not your life and it's not your body. And so if you're in here thinking, weird, and you're judging people and stuff like that, that's great. It's probably not the podcast for you because I'm going to keep talking about shit like this. This is important to me. Other people's lives don't have anything to do with you unless they're actually harming you. So like, let people live their lives. That is the motto here. And how this ties back into everything that you're saying is like, it can be scary to put yourself out there, especially in this quick to anger, quick to judge, us versus them culture. But what I really love about the internet, and I have loved since I was fucking 14 years old, was that it is easier than ever to find your tribe of weirdos and to like rock your weird shit in the best possible way. And we are all geeking out over this weirdness. I mean, like, whoever thought that Dungeons and Dragons would be cool? That's cool shit now. Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah, man.
And I say that without a trace of irony or judgment. Like, I remember how much it was made fun of growing up. And even though I don't play it now, I'm like, yeah, like, look, people have these tabletop sets and the costumes and the what? That's cool.
Yeah. It was the golden age of being a weirdo. Yeah.
Yes. Be your weird self. Put yourself out there. Yes, that does mean that you're going to get some people that don't get it. You might get some weird comments and some side eye. But like, we got to let that roll off your back, like a duck with water rolling off their back. Like they don't get it. It's not for them. And man, they don't get to take part in your world. Ooh,
yeah, but and sometimes they do though. Like I had this great experience recently, or it was last year. And one of my subscribers hit reply on an email and she was like, this is the third time this month that you've talked about your sex life or like which was weird. I'm like, I don't talk about sex that much. Anyway, I guess I had mentioned something about my lovers or like, I'm in a throuple or like whatever. Anyway, so she says, this is the third time this month. And I'm like, I replied back and I was like, you can unsubscribe if you want. Like, I won't be offended, but also if you could like stick around and you could just hate on them, like if you want to, because they're entertaining. And I never heard from her, didn't hear back. And then like a couple months later, I was on a sales call and she was like, yeah, I was that person.
Oh, wow.
And she was like, I think she might've even been like Orthodox Jew. And she said, like, I don't really agree like with your lifestyle choices or something like that. I don't even know what she said. It wasn't political, but she was like, I don't have to agree with you to like be in this program and learn from you. And I was like, fuck yes. No, you don't. Yes. That's the whole point is like, I'm out here being me, writing with a lot of personality, showing, teaching on email marketing. And you don't have to agree with me in order to be in my programs. I mean, there are certain things where I draw the line. Like I don't do MLM because of my history with cults. Like I just can't do things like that. There are places where I'm like, don't join if you are this. But for the most part, like, people find my difference interesting. Yeah. And they're often, there's occasionally people I have this one subscriber. I used to talk a lot about how much I love Kanye, which I don't anymore because Kanye, unfortunately, just got to Kanye. Yeah. But I do really love Kanye's music, and Kanye's album, Jesus is King, like really was like my life raft during my divorce. So I talked a lot about Kanye, and for a while I was in this throuple. And then maybe there was another thing that was like, I don't know what it was. They had this subscriber hit reply though, and she was like, I love Kanye, and I was in a throuple, and this other thing we have in common too. And I was like, what are the chances? That's really weird.
Yes.
And but like by and large, that is not the case. Like people are very different. But they do, I think people do appreciate a window into someone's life that they can relate to that's also very different. So
yes. Especially if they can break like the conventional assumptions that we have around what success looks like, what normal looks like. Normal is a fucking invented concept. So is money. Like, get with it, guys. We made it up. We can unmake it. And I love that you like the last thing that anybody could ever accuse you of is being a fucking copycat. Right.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. It's true.
Like you're out there being 100% original, totally authentic to yourself, not worried. Well, I mean, I can't speak to whether you're worried about it or not, but like not preoccupied with perfection the way some folks are that stalls them out from doing things for years and years for fear of judgment. And what I love about that is how that builds that genuine connection for the woman that came back to you on a sales call. Because, and that just circles back to my little side rant earlier about kindness. Like, you didn't have to make an example of her. You didn't have to skewer her. You didn't have to say, fuck off if you don't like it. I already like, and no shade if that's your personality, just be who you are. But I love treating people with kindness and being like, hey, it's great. I mean, the first time somebody insulted one of my paid ads, I was like, thanks for bumping me up in the algorithm. Appreciate the contribution. Like, that's just going to be who I am. And it has nothing to do with how you treat me. It has everything to do with how I want to be as a person and show up. And I'm going to treat you with kindness. And if you refuse to reflect my kindness back at me, well, then you just get blocked. But no hate.
Yeah. Well, the way I think about it is like if I get to be my whole self, you get to be your whole self too.
Yep.
And I think like I've seen that a lot in my subscribers that they're seeing me do that and they feel like, oh, I could also show up that way. Maybe I could do that a little bit more in my life, in my business. And that's something that's really exciting to me.
Yeah. It's funny to me because I grew up in that button down world and I got that message of, you know, like, look like you made an effort, do your makeup, do your hair, don't look so tired, look professional. All of these messages that I got about showing up and being a professional. And I've told this story a couple of times over the last couple of days. So it's just funny how thematically it's coming up. My first business event, I remember showing up, you know, in a blazer and covering all the tattoos and the piercings. But then I went to the bar. Thus we tie into the concept of the show. And I had a couple drinks and I still don't know how I got on this topic to this day, but I wound up telling stories about getting into mosh pit fights in my 20s and how like I actually enjoyed it because this is a sanctioned place where like violence is just a thing that we all expect and it's okay. Like go get out some aggression and go back to work. And I literally watched people lean in as I was telling this story in all of my tipsy glory. And I remember that like really touching a nerve with me and going, oh, they said, who is this? How did I never know this about you? Oh my God, I feel like I'm talking to a completely different person. And that was really the first time that I gave myself permission to be like, yeah, this is who I am. I am this metal headbanging, bright haired, tattooed weirdo. And it's okay. I can still be a pro and do excellent work and help people build incredible things. Oh, this has been such a great conversation. I feel like I want to keep ranting for like 3 more hours. I think we're going to have to like do an Angie and Tarzan series or something.
Sure. Anytime.
So tell us a little bit more about where we can find you, where we can learn about your programs, all the details.
So I am so excited to debut my new website because what's currently on the internet or at the time of recording is like a million is like, you know, 3 transformations ago is like Tarzan in purple sequin Gucci pants and like these pink stiletto high heels with lightning bolts on them. And it's cute. Like I did, you know, I was like a kid who loved to play dress up and that's who you see on the website. But I actually grew up as a business owner and as a leader. And I'm so proud of this new website. I cannot wait. It's made by a woman named Yevgenia from 16 Creative. She did such a great job. Like, I never have had this experience working with a designer on a website that was like so She just really figured it out, what I needed my site to look like, what I needed my rebrand to look like. So I'm super excited. And it also means that I revisited all of the free things that I have to offer, all of the ways you can join my email list, like free things, paid things. Like my website actually does a really good job. So you could just go to my website, tarzankay.com, and see what is there. I strongly would recommend getting on my email list because that's really where I do my best work. Like, don't even bother looking at Instagram because I'm not even there, honestly. It's some old shit from February 2022. So join me on email. And if you reply to my emails, I do read them and you reply to most of them.
Awesome. Oh, that's awesome. I have a feeling there will be so many interesting conversations and I want to hear about them. Thank you so much for being on the show. This has been fascinating. What a privilege to host you and your awesome earrings and your awesome personality and your awesome business. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks, Angie.
That's all for now. If you want to keep that kick-ass energy high, please take a minute to share this episode with someone that might need a high-octane dose of "you can do it." Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to the Permission to Kick-Ass podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you stream your podcasts. I'm your host, Angie Coley, and I'm here rooting for you. Thanks for listening, and let's go kick some ass.